Welcome back, Leor, Ben, and Eddie. Today we are talking about teams and do they really know what they're working on? I know that some of us have been on teams where the teams pretty much knew what product they were building, and sometimes they're so far removed that they have absolutely no idea what it is that they're building. So I'm curious to see, in your experience, how does that impact a team and the way that they work? Is it helpful to know what you're building? I hope so. And where have we seen this play out and why does it happen? So throwing it over to the group, what have you seen in your experience?
I mean, I've pushed very hard for trying to get teams more aligned around a certain thing that they're building, as opposed to I've worked in organizations where teams are split up into the front end guys and the back end guys and the testing guys, and no one really cared about what they were building, and also it became really easy for the back end guys to say, well, the front end guys are doing this wrong and then they're doing that wrong because they're all dependent on each other, but they're sitting in different groups, so they don't feel like a team anymore. Um, I would assume, Lior and Ben, you've seen teams who cared greatly about their products. You've seen teams who probably don't care about their products at all or don't even know what they're building. And you've probably helped move some teams from not caring to caring. So what have you seen? How big of a deal is it? And what's that process like of taking a team from not caring to caring?
I'll say something quickly and then I'll hand over to Leo. But I think it's helpful to kind of segment the conversation into two things. There's one being aware of what you're building, and then there's the second part being passionate about what you're building. And I don't think there's much you can do to make someone passionate about the domain in which they're working. So if you have a job at a bank, I don't think you're going to make that they're either passionate about banks and banking or they're not. And I don't think a coach is going to say, you should be really excited about interest rates. Like it's what you can do is work hard to make sure they're aware of what they're building, how it would impact people, but you can't inherently make them passionate about it. Is that fair, Leo?
Yeah. I mean, what I find is they're passionate about their domain. Certainly knowing what you're building makes a difference versus not knowing what you're building. I've seen both situations. The times where I've seen teams not know what they're building, I just didn't even understand. Like, it's such a low-hanging fruit. I was working with a group of like 10 teams building a product, and we did a survey, and I didn't run the survey. It was just kind of like an assessment of how the teams were doing, and 48% of the team members had no idea what the product was, which is like, really? Like, your leader didn't. No one was like, hey, I mean, it's a 5-minute conversation. No one was like, hey, this is what we're building. This is what the thing is. So I don't know. I mean, it's like, if your job is to slice tomatoes and you don't know they're going on a hamburger, you're going to slice them all thick and weird so that they pop out of the burger when someone bites in it. I don't know. It seems silly to me.
I kind of disagree with you, Ben, actually, on the whole you can't make someone care. I think it depends on how you interpret caring, and that, like, maybe they don't care about the digital commerce platform, but I've seen the difference in teams that had no demos, where someone would build a new functionality for a login or a new modifier to a cart. When they have the opportunity to present it, when they don't have the opportunity to present it, they care a lot. They care,
Yeah.
right?
And actually, what I said,
yeah.
What I actually said was passionate. So yes, they should care about what they've built, like professional care, but are they passionate about banking? And I think you can illustrate the difference between someone who's passionate and someone who's aware, or even just someone who cares. Because if you find a group of people who are passionate about something, who work for free, and you see the products that they build in a quarter of the amount of time, in their spare time, for free, to solve problems that irk them in the world, right? So we've got people who are kind of, I saw a TED talk about a guy from Japan who stood up a radiation counting service after they had the tsunami and the nuclear reactor got hit and leaked, and they were concerned. They mobilized like 6 people, and then off the back of that, a whole country with virtually no resources, when the government was still kind of scrambling around to decide whether they should even do this thing. And that, for me, is an example of someone who's passionate about the outcome, and they can mobilize themselves, and they will beat hands down any team who is just aware. So yes, passionate is important. Can you make someone passionate? I still will stand by my thing. I don't think you can make someone passionate about a certain domain that they're not already passionate about.
I feel like if I take the analogy of maybe someone, an actor doing a play, right? There's nothing that matches if it is their favorite play and it's a piece of theater that they really deeply care about, right? That's the outcome. However, I think in instilling a certain amount of pride in themselves, and the kind of drive to intrinsically be the best actor they can possibly be, you can get a level of passion. Not the same level of passion, but I think you can. I think it's the same with, I would argue that it can be similar with programming, is that if someone takes pride in just writing elegant code, then they can become passionate about whatever project that they're working on. If they become driven to be the best that they can be in a cultural sense, then they can find passion in, I want to put out the best piece of work that I can put out every single moment. Maybe it's not the same passion, maybe it's different, but it emulates it fairly well.
I think you should watch out for passion in the skill and the solo activity, like pride in my work, versus passion of outcome. So that actor will be happy if they put on the performance of their life, even if like they don't really care about the subject matter or whether the film debuts at theaters or where it goes straight to DVD. Like if they've done their job and they're proud of their work, like that, they don't care so much about the outcome. They care about their delivery. And I think that's the same with teams. Like if you're passionate about writing clean code, like you can write clean code that doesn't solve any problems. If you're passionate about the outcome, you will make sure that you are delivering outcomes that change the world in a way that you're passionate about. I think, yes, absolutely. Is a passionate developer going to perform better than a non-passionate developer? Absolutely. But they're still a world away from someone who's passionate about solving a problem that is in, it's in the fiber of their soul, rather than, I work for Amazon and I want to find the best way to route, the next package or something like that. Unless maybe you can connect the passion to some outcome, right? So if you could say, make my routing algorithm better, we're going to reduce the environmental impact, you might find a whole bunch of people who are now passionate about routing algorithms, because actually it's not about routing algorithms, it's about lowering environmental impact. So I think there's several levels of so at the bottom level, it's being aware of what you're doing, being passionate about doing a good job, but ultimately aligning people to passions they care about will lead to a 10 times improvement in outcome. The problem is finding people roles where they can work and that is aligned with their passions, because we don't all have the luxury of working in domains or roles where we can be directly aligned with our passion.
So I wanted to bring, I think that's a good point, Ben, because I think what we start talking about is, do we work on teams where people know what they're doing, and how does that impact the work that we're doing? And now if you have a team of some passionate, some not so passionate about say coding or whatever it is, how does that impact? They don't know what they're building. How does it impact their ability to do their job and the way they feel accountable to what they're building? And in my experience, it's been that if the team doesn't really know what they're building, they don't have an understanding of the roadmap, they're not able to ask those meaningful questions or problem solve in a creative way that's going to make you a better product. So a lot of times when I don't see product sharing their roadmap with the team, it's not doing them any favors. When a team has as much information as they possibly can get their hands on, they ask the questions up front, you get your timelines moved up maybe by a bit, because you can start solving for problems sooner. And I think when you have passionate people, you could do even better. That's my experience.
That's the point, right? So the point is, are you creatively solving for problems versus just getting technical tasks out the door? You can't creatively solve for problems if you don't know what you're building. So if we're going to give a practical takeaway, make sure that your teams know what they're building. And then once they know what they're building, see whether or not your product folks or your stakeholders can come in and explain to the teams what some potential, so to Ben's point, if they're building better routing algorithms, maybe there's a deeper reason for those routing algorithms. We'll see if it's possible, once you've given the teams what they're building, to help connect them to something they might be passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Very curious to hear what our viewers think in the comments below. Tell us about your teams. Do they know what they're working on? Do you know what they're working on? And how has it impacted the work that you're producing? We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel because we have more videos for you. Thank you.